So seems like the quality of the prompt is key, the way you ask AI. True?
That's absolutely true. And you can think of it as similar to if you're asking just a general question, the more specific your question is, the better response you will get out of that. And so there's a particular formula that we'll look at in terms of how you get the best type of response from any type of AI engine. And that is that the first thing is we want to give it a task. And we want that task to be as clearly defined as it can be. The second piece is we want to give it some context around that task so it understands like who's our audience or what are some nuances around what we want to get out of here. The other thing that we want to do is we want to give it a persona. So we want to say, for example, you can ask your AI engine to operate as if it were a particular type of job or a role in your life. And so it can provide an answer from a particular perspective. Then we want to give it we'd like to give it a tone. So do you want it to be professional? Do you want it to be funny? Do you want it to be informative? You can also set some tones in terms of should it be for a particular audience from an age perspective at like an 8th grade level, depending on who your audience is. Then we want to provide it a format. So do we want it to write something in an outline? Do we want it in a table? How do we want the output to be presented? And then the last one is we can provide it some examples on things that we want it to work like and provide some context about that. So if we have somebody that we really admire their writing, we could say, hey, I want something that sounds kind of like it was written from this blog post.
You know, this takes me back to college, English lit, right? So when you're writing stories, they tell you to think about the tone, think about the audience. I can't, that just hit me as we were sitting here chatting. And it's very similar to that. I mean, when you're creating this request, and the other thing that hits me is that I think through like when I ask my significant other, hey, what do you want? Where do you want to go to dinner tonight? And it's an open-ended question. I don't think we ever get to an answer.
Yep.
Right? I think everyone can relate with that versus, hey, hon, why don't we go do Italian food like that place we had in New York within 5 miles? You know, you add some of these elements you're speaking to, and then it compresses the response and you actually get to what you're looking to get to. Is that a comparable analogy?
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. And similarly, if you have that same type of open-ended conversation with AI, you'll find that it takes about the same amount of time that it takes you and your significant other to decide where you want to. It's first AI is going to come back and say, well, what kind of food do you want?
Exactly.
And so there's going to have to be a lot of back and
let's just eat in.
Exactly. A lot of back and forth before you get to an answer. So the more specific you can be about what you want the output to be, the better your responses are going to be.
It really is garbage in, garbage out, right? I mean, the more specific you take care of those elements, you're probably going to get the output you're looking for. Makes sense. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in this case, we've got a couple of examples here. We've got a not so great example about what you might use if you want to generate content for something like this. So our first example here, we're just asking it to help us put together an outline for a webinar presentation on AI. Well, AI is a massive topic, so we're likely to get a very broad general response there, and are also likely to get at least some elements included that aren't even within the realm of what we want to present, based on that, as opposed to our better one here, which is where we're asking it to help us put together an outline for our webinar presentation on AI, which is our task. We want it to be geared for medium-sized businesses to help accelerate growth and maximize employee productivity. So we're giving it some context. We want it to be something that an IT professional could provide to clients. So we're giving it a persona or a perspective. And then we also want it to be professional and friendly. So we're providing some tone. We want it to be formatted to work well as part of a PowerPoint presentation. So we're giving a format. And then if we wanted to also add an example, we could say, use this blog post as a reference style, which would be our exemplar. And then we could provide a link to a blog post on AI that we liked or think has some relevant information or style.
So you're framing it so it has an example. It'll go look at that and it'll be part of its consideration in the process.
That's exactly right.
Wow. Okay. I didn't think of that. Good. Yeah, again, you're giving it more information. you're going to get a better response.